Cyclone Gabrielle hit on the 14th of February overnight 2023. We used to have a bridge here, a footbridge, quite a nice one. I built it myself. From that stake over there to these stakes here, it was a very solid thing, right up at the level here and on the grass over there. But the river rose up, right up into the forest. Never saw it, but it was a tempest, obviously. It dumped all sorts of stuff on the bank over here. Big things, big trees. We moved them 2 days ago. All eroded down here. And it's dumped stuff down the river here and made it messy. Messy. The task for today is to remove this thing here, which is quite big, and it's got a great chunk of dirt on the end. It looks messy, and what's going to happen when we get the next heavy rain, the water's going to go down there and over here and then erode more of the bank here, so it's going to have to come out. This bit here will probably wash away with time, but this bit has got to come out, and probably that one over there as well too, although it's a much littler one. That's the task for today. So you can see on this little tree here, is dead, that's the height that the flood was pushing stuff into the trees. All these trees here, which include New Zealand native kowais, were flattened, bent right over, and I've had to stake them all and push them back up. Unfortunately, they seem to have survived that. As the water rose up, where that bit of wood is there, right up there, because you can see the silt. This is 2 months ago now, so there's been growth and 2 months worth of growth. And it went up into the forest over there on our paths as well too. So it must have gone right across up to there. It must have been very impressive to see. So the technique for this, I hope, is we're going to use this big tree as a ballast point down to there. I've got this rope. This is very good rope too, by the way. So for this game, you cannot use ordinary cheap rope. This is non-stretchy rope. I've used it for a number of towing jobs, and it's got almost no extension, because when you use your come along or winch power puller, if you've got a stretchy rope, it'll just take all the time pulling stretch out of the rope, and you're just wasting your time really. So I've got two straps, two of these yellow straps, the non-stretchy rope and the winch. So I'm going to put the rope, get down to the river and put the rope around the tree rather than the straps. Okay, I've got the rope tied around the tree, and it's come up here to the winch, and the strap is around the tree. Very tight, and it's immediately pulling into this lump of silt here, so that's using up the available line in the winch. So I might have to let it off and put a bit of wood underneath it so the rope rolls over the winch. Rope rolls over the bit of wood. Pretty torn. I hope it's got the capacity to deal with that. Should. It says it's a 2-ton winch. But I just wonder if I might have to get down there and saw some of that. Knock off some of that dirt on over here on that end of the stump. So the pulley wouldn't do it It was just pulling into the ground. So I went over here using that little chainsaw and cut all the branches off it. And it is moving now, but I've come down here and we've pulled a whole lot of stuff out of the river. This is a willow tree, which I got to try and find a stake now to stake it upwards. And this is I cut the trunk off this thing too. We'll have to pull that out with the pulley, it's just too heavy. So it's time to go back to the come along and have a go at that stump over there, because I want it out. You can see what it's doing. The water and floods will go to both sides of it and erode that bank, which is seriously eroded over there. So we want the water to come down the middle. Had enough of floods. Saw something?
What?
Anything?
Eel.
You saw an eel?
Oh, saw something.
Okay, the whole pulley thing was useless. Wouldn't move it. In the end, we had to get down in the river with a little saw, with a brand new blade, which probably isn't new anymore, and cut it all up into various pieces and throw it up in the bank. It was pretty hard work. My wife's a heroine. So, most of the rubbish is out of the river and it can freely flow downhill. If it can freely flow, that means in a flood situation, it'll drain away more quickly. I've dumped some stuff down here to try and reinforce it. Happy with that. So many roots. This eel was helping us the whole time. It's a bit hard to see under the light here. He's over 1 metre long. He was very close to us. We also saw some really big water spiders, massively big. So we probably destroyed some of his habitat. But he'll find something else. And this is why we're clearing the river, because it is just so very beautiful. All the edges are damaged after the cyclone, but it's coming, right? There's about 7 cataracts coming down here. This one's called the Champagne Cataract because it makes a whole lot of bubbles. Such a beautiful noise. This is how it's done. Send your wife in. And if you look out like this, look out the eel.
Where?
Great camera shot. Great camera shot. So this is how the come along works. Well, briefly anyway. Come along or ratchet winch. From around the tree. These straps are good because they don't stretch. The rope was a problem, even though it doesn't stretch. This metal cable has only got about a metre and a half of travel. And it took at least half of that before it could gain any tension. So then you loosen it off, take up the slack again, and then you've got to go through that all over again. So it wasn't very successful. So the ratchet works like this. It just goes up and down your ratchet. You've got to pull this thing over to take the latch, go back up, and this one over here releases it. It's all a bit tedious, really. I have to say they're more designed for something inflexible like lifting a engine out of a car or something like that, where the cable's not going to have the stretching issues. It was just too much work and too much fiddling, and it wasn't working anyway. So we got the stump out there, but in fact we lifted it up there. We didn't even use the winch to do that. Nothing's easy actually. An electric winch, on the other hand, with a long cable would have been fabulous. Been thinking about that. Just carry a 12-volt battery down here for jobs like that, and a long winch cable. Ooh, that would have been the business. Interesting. Pulling, not lifting.